Okay, Mr. McCann, you may proceed with your examination of this witness.
How old were you on September 26th, 1988?
I was only 13.
You were 13 years of age?
Yes,
At that time, you were a student, were you not?
I was a student.
And on that particular day, did you attend the school to which you were assigned?
Yes,
Did there come a time...
Are you hearing the witness? Okay.
I'm sorry, are you hearing the witness?
Okay, they've all indicated yes, so.
One or two indicated it was.
Well, okay, because it's very quiet to me. Just speak up a little bit, sir, and get up maybe a little closer to the microphones. They should pick up your voice.
Did there come a time on that day, September 26th, 1988, that you were on your way home from school?
yes, I was.
And what time was that, to your best recollection?
Between 3 and 4.
And as you were making your way home, did you get in the area of about North 25th and West Wells Street?
Yes,
And that's here in the city of Milwaukee,
yes,
Milwaukee County, Wisconsin.
yes.
Did you notice anything unusual at that time?
No, I don't.
Did you see anybody, or did anybody come up to you?
Yes, Jeffrey Dahmer.
And how did he come up to you? When did you first see him?
It's on the corner of 25th and Wells.
And did he say anything to you?
Yes, he told me he asked other kids if they would just pose for, quick $50.
If they would pose for a quick $50?
Yes.
And what did you say to him, or what did he say to you then?
I asked him if it is his career or he said it's a hobby.
He said it's a hobby.
Yes.
What did you say then, or what did he say then?
He asked me if I want to pose for him just for a quick $50.
And when he asked if you'd pose for the quick 50, that's when you asked him if he was a professional or a hobby, and he said it's his hobby.
Yes.
What then happened?
Then we start walking to his apartment.
You walked to his apartment building?
Yes.
And did you get to his apartment building?
Yes.
About how far was it roughly, that walk, if you recollect?
A block or two.
And then did you go into the building and go to a particular apartment?
Yes.
And you went inside that apartment?
Yes.
And what happened then?
He asked me if I prefer posing, strip or, with my clothes on.
Was there any discussion before that about how old you were or what level of high school you were in?
Yes, he asked me what school I went to and then how old I am, and I told him.
And do you remember whether you said you were a freshman that year, or?
Yeah, I told him I was a freshman. I was only 13.
When you got into the apartment, what was said after you got into Mr. Dahmer's apartment?
He asked me which way should I pose, strip or with my clothes on, and I told him, with my clothes on.
At this point, I can advise the court that Mr. Boyle has stipulated that the identification of the Jeff Dahmer that he is speaking of is the defendant in this proceeding.
Very well.
When you said with your clothes on, what happened then?
Well, he took one shot, and then later on he asked me it would look better if, with my clothes off.
Right. Where was the first shot taken?
He was on a bed.
Right. Was there a bed in the apartment there?
Yes,
Right. And when that first shot was taken, were you on that bed?
yes.
Right. And were you sitting on the bed or laying on the bed? What's your best recollection of that?
I was laying on the bed.
Did you, when there was a discussion about a stripper with clothes, did he do anything with respect to your clothes with respect to that first shot?
Yeah, he pulled it up and then, up to my neck.
When you say he pulled it up to your neck, are you speaking of your shirt?
Yes, my shirt.
Right. And did he take a shot at that time? After it had been pulled, your shirt had been pulled up to your neck area, was a photograph taken?
Yes.
Do you recall what type of a camera it was?
It was more like a Polaroid.
And you decide that from because you could see the picture come out
Yes.
after it was taken?
Yes.
What happened after that first picture was taken?
Then he started like saying I should open my fly. And then I told him no, and then he's unzip it.
Well, did you take that second shot then, or did you first go into another part of the apartment?
We stayed there. We sat there for a while, and then we went in the kitchen. He offered me some drink.
And when he offered you the drink, where did you go then?
I followed him in the kitchen.
And what happened in the kitchen?
He made me coffee.
And did he put anything into the coffee, from another bottle?
Yes, he did. It was more like a cream, chocolate color looking.
A chocolate covered like cream?
Yes.
And did he mix the coffee?
Yes, he did.
Was there a pot there somewhere that he used?
He used a faucet, hot water.
And then mixed some coffee in somehow? Then poured this in?
Yes.
And what happened then?
Then we went back to the living room.
Did you have any of that coffee? Did he have any of that, if you noticed?
He took a little sip.
He took a little sip, and then what?
Then I drank about half. Then he said, why don't you just finish it? So I just drank it real quick.
The rest of the coffee cup?
Yes.
And were there any more photographs taken then? Did you go back into the living room?
Yes, we did. We were in the living room.
And was any photograph taken after you had the coffee?
No.
How many photographs were taken?
More likely two.
Right. You've told us about the first one when your shirt was pulled up around your chest. Tell us about how the second photograph was taken.
My zippers were open and my shirt was still up.
Your shirt was still up. Did you take the second photograph after the first?
Yes, we did.
Right. And your shirt was pushed up. And what happened to was there any discussion about your zipper between you and Mr. Dahmer?
I put it halfway down, and then he just put it all the way down.
Was there any discussion between you and him about putting it halfway down, the zipper? Did he say anything to you about what you should do, if anything, with your zipper?
Yeah, he said that I should put it all the way down and then, show my underwear.
And you put it halfway down, and then what did he do?
He put it all the way down.
And what else did he do?
And then he grabbed my penis.
He went under your underwear and grabbed your penis?
Yes, he did.
And what happened then?
Then I just put it back.
You took it away from him and put it back into your underpants?
Yes.
And then was the next picture the second picture taken?
Mm-hmm.
At that point?
Yes.
What happened then?
Then I told him I gotta go. And then before I left, he told me he liked listening to people's stomach. And
what did he do then?
Then I was on the bed still, and then he came more like leaning down, and then he put his ears to my stomach. Then he started kissing it.
Started kissing your stomach?
Yes.
And then what did you do?
I just knew right away I just have to get out of there.
And what did you do when you figured you had to get out of there? What did you do?
Zip my pants, my shirt back to normal, and then grab my book bag and walk out the door.
Right. Had you gone out to the kitchen before the pictures were taken and had the coffee? Or what, did you take the picture, one picture, then go to the kitchen, come back for the second picture?
One picture and then to the kitchen, then came back.
All right, so the first picture you took, then to the kitchen, then back for the second picture.
Yes.
And then after he kissed your stomach, you said, I gotta get out of here, something like that. What did you do then?
I just grabbed my book bag and then I opened the door and...
You moved to the door of the apartment?
Yes.
Was the door of the apartment closed at that time?
Yes, it was.
And had it been closed after you entered the apartment?
Yes.
And what did Mr. Dahmer do when you went to the door with your book bag?
He said, wait, don't forget your money. And don't tell no one that I'm doing this.
Wait, don't forget your money and don't tell anyone I'm doing this.
Yes.
Did he give you any money?
Yes, he did.
I mean, he came up to you and gave you the money?
Yes.
All right. Was the door open or closed, if you recollect, at that time?
I opened it.
And, pardon?
In case if he tried anything, I would, the door would be open for me.
And what happened then? Did he give you the money?
He gave me the $50.
Was the door closed or open, if you recollect, when he gave you the $50?
It was open. I opened it.
And then what happened?
Then I walked out. And then once I got out of the apartment, I knew right away I was dizzy.
And what happened? Were you starting to walk home?
Yes, I did.
And did you feel dizzier as you walked further towards your house?
Yes.
What happened when you got home?
I slammed the door. I couldn't even walk straight and just headed to bed.
You headed to bed?
Yes.
Did you get into the bed?
Yes, I did.
When is the next time you became conscious of where you were? Where were you?
At the hospital.
At the hospital?
Yes.
And you were there for a while at the hospital. Then did you come back that evening to your home?
Yes.
Did a police officer or police officers come to your home that night?
Yes.
And did they ask you to show them where this apartment was? Did you tell them what happened to you that afternoon?
Yes.
Did you go with the officers and point out the apartment and the apartment building?
Yes, I did.
And did you later come down to the police headquarters and look at some pictures?
Yes.
And did you pick out the picture that was Mr. Jeff Dahmer?
Yes.
That's all for director.
Cross-examination.
Be so brief. I wasn't even going to ask you any questions, but did you say that he put his ear to your stomach?
Yes, he did. First.
Thank you, son.
That's it. Can you redirect? Witness may step down. Court will take a recess at this time. And then would you state your name, spell your last name, please?
The name is Michael Salinas, S-A-L-I-N-A-S.
Mr. Salinas, after information concerning the case of Mr. Dahmer came into the news media, did you recall an incident where you had an encounter with Mr. Dahmer?
Not initially. In the beginning, the face from the media looked vaguely familiar at the initial outset of the case. However, upon looking at a photo of Jeffrey Dahmer, an older photo taken, I then recognized him, and also seeing a profile photo of him, also recognized him from the incident.
And you recalled having an encounter with Mr. Dahmer?
Yes, I do.
And you reported that to the police, correct?
No, I didn't.
All right. Were you spoken to?
I'm sorry. I reported it to the police once I identified him as, okay.
That's what I meant. You didn't report it at the time of the incident?
No, not at the time of the incident.
Right. And at the time you reported it to the police, you recalled it as occurring in the spring of 1986, or that was your estimation, correct?
That's correct at the time.
When do you recall it as having occurred, actually?
Actually, I recall it occurring in the spring of '87.
And what brought to your mind that it must have been the spring of 1987?
Because during that time of the incident, I was working at the Performing Arts Center, and upon looking at a past resume, I noticed that at that time it was in 1987.
Now, where did you encounter Mr. Dahmer on that date?
Outside the C'est La Vie, during bar close.
And were you alone or with someone else?
I was with somebody else.
And was that person a friend of yours?
Yes, he was.
And what happened when the two of you encountered Jeffrey Dahmer?
A conversation was started as to the fact that he stated his name, his first name, and then said that he was from Chicago, and that he had a room that he had rented out, and that he had a bottle of rum, and if we would like to come and finish it.
And was he the one that started the conversation?
Yes, he was.
Then what happened?
We then took a cab.
Who called the cab?
Jeffrey did.
Then what happened?
We went into the cab and were dropped off at the Ambassador Hotel.
All three of you?
Right.
What happened when you got to the Ambassador Hotel?
We went, strangely enough, it seemed to be through a side door. I found it odd that I didn't see anybody in that building at all, and went up a flight of stairs.
All three of you?
Yes, we did.
Then what happened?
We went inside the room, and he mentioned that he needed to go downstairs and get some sodas out of the soda machine for the rum.
Mr. Dahmer mentioned that?
Yes, he did.
Now, at this point, about how much time had you spent with him?
I estimated approximately half an hour to 45 minutes.
Before he went downstairs to get sodas?
Yes.
And had you been carrying on a conversation with him?
Not during the cab ride. Actually, when we entered the room, not much of a conversation either, other than the fact that he asked us what kind of soda that we liked.
And then what did he do?
He came back from getting the sodas, and at that time we had seated ourselves. I was sitting on the bed, on the chair facing a wall, and or against a wall, and my friend was on the floor in front of the TV.
And what happened with regard to the drinks?
He began to make the drinks, and I found it also odd at the time that when he had made them, his back was turned, and it was something that had stuck out at me.
Now, you said his back was turned. Do you mean that he was blocking your vision of what he was doing while he was making the drinks?
That's correct.
And you said your friend was seated on the floor. First of all, how many beds were there in this room?
There was two.
One closer to the door, one further inside?
Right.
And there was a television?
Right.
And where was that?
That was at the foot of the bed that was farther from the door.
And where was your friend seated?
On the floor in front of the television.
And where were you?
On the chair that was on the side where the farther bed was from the door.
All right, so if you came in, there'd be one bed, then a second bed, and then beyond that, yet there was a chair?
A chair facing that bed, correct.
And you were seated in that chair, and your friend was seated at the end of the bed?
Right.
On the floor?
On the floor.
And after Mr. Dahmer mixed the drinks, what did he do?
He then gave us the drinks.
And what did he do next?
He did sit on the bed, or lay on the bed, but then he did something very strange. He had gotten up and stripped off all of his clothes.
And what did he say to that?
He laid back on the bed and asked us if we would like to strip off our clothes, and at that point I told him no.
Then what happened? Did you have the drink already at this point?
I did have the drink, and it was with me, and I had taken maybe a sip or two out of it.
When he did this, when he took off his clothes and lay down on the bed, had he touched either you or your friend?
No, he didn't.
Did you and your friend, exchange glances when he did this?
Yes, we did.
What happened next?
After we had exchanged glances, I began to talk to Mr. Dahmer, small talk, for a little while. What I can remember was something to do with his past history in the Army, or
his past history where?
In the Army.
He was telling you about his Army days?
Right.
What was your friend doing?
Watching a television show.
Were you particularly nervous or frightened?
No, I wasn't.
There were two of you there at the time?
Yes, there was.
Did you start drinking the drink?
Yes, I did.
What happened next?
I don't remember. I estimate that I probably had a few sips out of the drink. I know that I didn't finish it, and that was it. I blacked out.
What's the next thing you remember?
I woke up on the foot of the chair, at the foot of the chair on the floor, with my pants unbuckled.
And what about your friend? Where was he?
He was lying on the bed, and I got up and went to wake him up.
What happened next?
We got up and we looked around the room, looking to see where Mr. Dahmer had gone to, and we walked and looked in the bathroom and decided that we should leave. The door, I believe, was wide open.
About how long were you passed out?
I'd estimate 3 to 4 hours.
And prior to that, how long had you spent with Mr. Dahmer from the time you met him until the time you did pass out?
Approximately hour and a half.
When he had conversation with you, was he coherent?
Yes, he was.
He described his past life or his time in the Army?
Yeah.
Were any of his thoughts rambling or unconnected?
No.
Except for the fact that when he came into the room, took off his clothes. Did he explain why he did that to you?
No, he didn't. Just that he said that he preferred to have his clothes off.
And he invited you to take yours off too, correct?
Yes, he did.
Did he react in any way when you said no, or did he just let it go?
No, he didn't. He had a small talk with me and had his hands behind his head and appeared to be very relaxed.
While he was lying on the bed?
Right.
All right, so he's lying on the bed with his hands behind his head, his clothes off, and he's just having small talk with you.
That's right.
Okay. At any time, was his conversation unconnected or incoherent?
No, actually, it was quite a nice conversation from what I remember.
And after a few sips of the drinks, the next thing you remember is waking up several hours later.
Yes.
Other than your pants being unbuckled, did you notice anything else about your clothing?
Once we had stepped outside, my friend had noticed that he had split up the back of his pants, probably starting from mid-thigh to right up through his buttocks.
Did you see that also?
Yes, I did.
Anything else?
It was a very clean cut. It wasn't a rip.
Okay. Did you notice anything else about your clothing?
Yes, he had no underwear.
Your friend noticed this about his clothing?
Yes, he said to me that I have no underwear and I had some on last night.
Okay. Was your clothing disarranged in any other way?
It was disarrayed upon awakening, and also the pants were unbuckled, but I also had an abrasion on my head.
Okay. Where on your head did you have an abrasion?
Smack dab in the middle of my forehead. It appeared to be it was a rug burn. It was very red, and there was a bump, and very symmetrical. About the size of actually, it was a little larger than a quarter size.
And prior to that evening, you didn't have any injury there? Before that time, there was no injury there, correct?
At the Ambassador Hotel?
Yeah, prior to going
Prior
to
to
the
that, there's
Ambassador
none.
Hotel. And when did you first notice the injury to your head?
I didn't notice it until I had gotten home and looked in the mirror.
And it was right in the middle of your forehead, you indicated?
That's right.
Your Honor, I'd also indicate at this point that I've spoken to counsel, and there's a stipulation that the Mr. Dahmer referred to is Jeffrey Dahmer, the defendant in this trial. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Maybe we've used that word stipulation quite a few times, and I don't know that we've really explained that word to the jury. Okay. And jurors, perhaps you should understand that when the attorneys stipulate or agree that a certain fact is true, then you and I are bound to accept that fact as having been conclusively proven. In this case, we're talking about the identification of Mr. Dahmer. Go ahead.
I have nothing further of this witness. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Mr. Salinas, I just have a couple of questions for clarification, okay?
That's right.
First off, you had indicated here today that you believe now that it was in the spring of 87 rather than 86. Is that correct?
That's right.
You're fairly certain of that?
I'm very certain, yeah.
Okay. You've indicated that you were at C'est La Vie Tavern with your friend, correct?
Right.
Was this a friend that you had gone there with, or was this somebody that you had met at the bar?
It was a friend of mine that I met there.
Is this a close friend that you would normally call up and hang out with?
At the time, it was a close friend, yeah.
Okay. You indicated that you had gone, after you met with Mr. Dahmer, over to the Ambassador Hotel. And you stated that you went into a side door, is that correct?
It appeared to be a side door. There was a stairs. Upon opening the door, there was a stairs immediately in front of us.
Okay. Do you recall giving a report relative to this matter to the police department when you had called it in? This was after everything was all done and this story had broke. You called in and you talked to a detective about this?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall that at the time, in the report that you gave, it said that you entered the front. Is this just now that you remember better that it wasn't the front, it was the side?
Yeah, just upon memorization of the way that I came in. I'm saying it appeared to be a side door because I didn't see anything else but the stairs.
Okay. You've also indicated here today that you went up to the room and then Jeffrey Dahmer had left and gone back down and picked up sodas. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. You indicated again in this other report that, in fact, on your way up to the room, you had picked up the sodas at the same time, giving the impression that all of you had done this. Now, do you remember?
Yeah, upon remembrance, I do remember now being up in the room and him asking what types of soda we liked, and then ran down to go get them.
Okay, so it wasn't that you all had just been passing the soda machine in the
No, because when he came back, we had already been seated.
Okay. And likewise, too, just like I said, just for clarification's sake, you had indicated as you reported this, that there was just one double bed in the room, and now you're indicating that there was, in fact, two. Was that correct?
I was always under the assumption there was two. I don't...
Okay, that's fine. Like I said, just trying to get some clarification here. Further, you had indicated that at the time when Mr. Dahmer had taken off his clothing, that you and your friend had exchanged glances.
That's right.
Did you say anything? Was there anything spoken about the fact?
No, we didn't say anything. We had just thought it was strange at the time.
Okay. Further, you had indicated that you felt that it was of a suspicious nature the way he was turning his back and making the drinks. Is that correct?
That's right.
I'd like to ask you, with the fact that you felt it was suspicious and taken note of it at the time that he had turned his back a certain way to make the drinks and also had taken off his clothing, did that in any way make you feel uncomfortable?
No, in no way at all did I feel threatened by him. The fact that I remembered him turning his back at the time just struck me as rather peculiar, something that just stuck out at me. But at that time, through the whole night before I had blacked out, I had no fear or suspicion of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Okay.
I must say that those were the two only odd incidents through that whole night that came to mind.
So there was nothing else that
No,
would give
no.
you or your friend? Did your friend ever say to you that, well, hey, this is a little weird, let's leave?
No, he didn't.
Okay. Nothing more than just a glance?
No, actually, he hardly spoke through the whole thing.
Okay. You had indicated further that you, when you woke up, that you had a bump or a swelling on your head. You said
Yes, I
that you've
did.
indicated a rug burn.
It appeared to be one.
Okay. And further, in this report that you gave, that you'd indicated that you felt when you woke up that you were a little drugged up, that you were in somewhat of a type of stupor, that you'd realized that, in fact, you had been drugged.
Yeah, the next day I didn't recall anything, or didn't recall half the things that I did the next day. I did have to go to work the next day, and a lot of the activities that I did that following day were unclear to me. I don't recall a lot of the things that I did.
Okay. When you woke, you said the only other person that was there was your friend that you had gone there with, correct?
That's right.
Mr. Dahmer wasn't there.
No, he was gone.
And did he likewise feel as though he had been drugged?
Yes, he did.
Did either of you think about perhaps going to the hospital? I mean, this is an instance where you're with somebody for an evening, you didn't know him, he says he's from Chicago, you both all of a sudden black out, you both wake up, and did you have any conversation of the fact that maybe
No,
you
we
should
didn't.
go to the hospital?
No, we didn't. We thought it was strange, but we had just put it off as something that was somebody slipped us a Mickey or something and took advantage of us for some reason or another. I was quite angry, though, after that, and for 5 days after, did go looking for him and didn't see him anywhere.
Okay, you had indicated further that you, in fact, never reported this to police at the time.
No, I didn't.
Did your friend report it?
No, he didn't.
Do you know, did your friend go to the hospital?
No, he didn't. Oh, I did ask him if he heard in the buttocks, and he said no, he didn't.
Okay. So neither of you reported to the hospital, and neither of you had reported it to the police, but you've indicated that you went to look for him. It was because you wanted to find him so you could report it to the police?
No, actually, at that time, I was quite angry and quite young and went after him to go beat him up.
Okay. Did you ever check in the hotel as far as who signed in for the room? Did you ever check a name?
No, I didn't. I didn't investigate any further than that.
Okay. Now, you've indicated that you waited until after this had all broke and it was out in the newspapers, and then you'd recognized Mr. Dahmer, and that's why you brought it to the police's attention. How long was that after the story broke that you actually brought it to the police's attention?
Oh, I identified the picture after coming back from camping on Labor Day weekend. I was camping and came back and saw a picture of him in the Milwaukee Journal of a family photo back in the early 80s, and his hair was a little more ruffled in another photo that I had seen of him in the past, and that's when I recognized him.
So Labor Day of 87, you're saying?
No, this...
excuse me, of 91?
Right.
So that would have been September?
Yeah, I believe I came back from camping either late August or near around that time.
Do you recall giving a report at any time on August 1st of 91?
No, I do know that I went camping, though, around that time. And through some media, through some newspaper photos of him from a few years younger, I did recognize him.
Okay.
And after that, I did call the police.
I just asked for clarification because this report here indicates that you, in fact, talked to a detective on August 1st, and now you're indicating September. I was just wondering how long it was that you actually waited. After this all broke and you decided to bring it to the police department's attention, did you ever contact your friend and ask him if he had any thoughts to give you, if he wanted to come with you to talk to the police?
Excuse me, I hadn't seen him. I had moved away and lost touch with him. I did go, I knew one person that had known him in the past and did call to see if he had seen him, but he said that he hadn't seen him in a couple years. So I have not seen him for quite a while. So
you never discussed it with him? You never called him as far as bringing him to the police?
We did. After the incident, we often discussed it and talked about just how strange it was.
When was that? Right after the incident?
Yeah, a few months after the incident.
Okay, but not at the time that you actually did bring it to their attention in 91?
Oh, no.
Okay.